Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the topic of the truth about anti-Indian hate. So for this video, I will explain the truth about this trend that's been going around online, whether it is on Instagram, Twitter, and so on and so forth, when it comes to showing you the truth about the society, let alone the world we live in, to be quite honest with you. So if you might have come for another reason aside from that, then this is not the video for you. But if you want to know what this whole situation shows the truth about when it comes to the society we live in, then this is the video for you. So now that I mention that, let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of what anti-Indian hate, that is a recent trend that's been going on online, has shown about the world when it comes to the truth about our society, is that it only takes a little to happen for you to become a group of people that's respected, to become a group that is hated. And that is the truth about the anti-Indian hate online, okay? And especially being a black person, I am so surprised this is actually going on, okay? And not even just a black person, but a black person who's been around for quite some time, okay? That's been around since, on this planet for that matter, at least since 1995, okay? I am so surprised this is actually happening. Because in the era I was growing up in, all I was used to hearing was everyone just talking badly about black people. Black people, black people, black people, black people. Okay, maybe there was a bit here and there because of 9/11. I mean, discrimination against Arabs, because of course people thought they were terrorists, but that quickly transitioned more into just straight up Islamophobia. Like, we don't hate Arabs, but we hate their religion that they're a part of, okay? But specifically, of course, the main thing, that a group that was getting a lot of hate was us black people. So to actually see Indians get this amount of hate is simply something that's quite stunning for me, especially from the time period I grew up in, to be quite honest with you, okay? And now to, of course, expand further on the point, aside from how surprised I am by this whole thing that's going on online recently, is that the truth of the matter is, when it comes to this whole situation, all it shows you is that it just shows you the truth about the society we live in, okay? Because I remember growing up, everywhere you went, all you heard was people praising Indian people, Indian people. Aside from, of course, East Asians like Chinese, Japanese, and so on and so forth, specifically Chinese, everyone used to always praise Indians. They're so smart, they're so this, they're so that, they're so this, they're so that, they're so brilliant, they're so this, they're so that. Oh, do you know is possibly might become the next world superpower? India was one of the greatest civilizations that existed in the world, and at one point in history, and yada 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 yada. Everyone spoke so highly of them, and now everyone makes fun of them. And all it took was just simply street food videos to destroy their reputation. For that matter, pretty much, okay? And that is the truth of the matter. What I want people to know when it comes to life lessons, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, as we all know, we live in a world run by white people, okay? Whether we want to admit it or not, because it makes people uncomfortable, the truth is, the world we live in is run by white people, okay? So obviously, what their opinions, and let alone who they are, at least on a societal level, as individuals, will determine how the world is affected as a whole, okay? That is the truth of the matter. We do live in a world run by white people, okay? Not only in terms of like power, like in terms of technology and so on and so forth, but in terms of buying power, okay? The world's run by white people. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to white people, it only takes the smallest thing to happen, even if it's a very small percentage of people, to do foolishness for a lot of them, not all of them or the majority of them, but a lot of them, to be honest with you, for them to start turning on your whole group and being flat out racist, Just like I gave an example about like Arabs at one point getting a lot of hate racism. Look at how many people died in 9/11. Like only like 2,000-ish people or something. Roughly around that, if anything. For them to really start hating a community of over 1 billion plus people. Like, that's what I'm talking about, okay? And the truth of the matter is, that is just goes to show you who a lot of them really are in the end of the day. It only takes a small thing to happen for them to start turning on you, okay? And obviously, as I said before, it started to turn from that, from racism against Arabs to, of course, racism against, of course, to more like discrimination against Islam. But even still, that was still going on at one point. I remember people used to always call them sand N-words, all the time. Sand niggers, let's be honest. Okay, they used to call Arabs those names all the time, and that just happened over something that a very small portion of them were doing at the time. Okay, and even when you look at the amount of terrorist attacks that are going on overall for the longest time, it's only a small percentage of stuff that has really happened compared to the overall Arab Muslim population. Especially when you take into consideration what the Europeans did to them not too long ago in the greater scheme of things, if you know what I'm saying. So the truth of the matter is that's exactly the truth about them. It only takes a small percentage of people to just do something for them to start turning on you. And just back to what I was saying before about Indians, these Indian street food videos, probably, to put it bluntly, or to be more honest with you, represent a small percentage of the overall Indian population. Most Indian people probably do not act like that, and I've actually read a lot of comments of Indian people saying that they're from India and they actually ignore, or more like avoid street vendors for that exact same reason, whenever it comes to getting food. So, which shows that there's obviously a sanitation standard that a lot of Indian people follow. So, the truth of the matter is, if they are doing that, so many of them feel that same way themselves, and it shows that not all of them have poor hygiene. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. That small percentage out there did that stuff, and now their reputation is tainted. And just even a few other things when it comes to Indian behavior, it just takes a small percentage of them to do that stuff, and now everyone hates them. When for the longest time everyone was praising them and liking them in countries like America, and especially Canada, that has such a huge Indian population. It just takes a small percentage to do some foolishness, and now everyone's being racist against Indians. Some people talk about the bad habits that they have and this and that and yada 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 yada. But why weren't you guys complaining about this for the longest time? Why weren't you complaining about this 10 years ago? Why weren't you complaining about this 20 years ago? Or even more, when there was still a huge amount of Indian people in Canada? And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. The truth of the matter is, this is simply an example of what happens when you side with the people in a position of power, okay? And this relates to, of course, no surprise, black people as well, because we're so used to this type of racism, and how it relates to us, aside from the fact that we're used to this, is that this should serve as a lesson to us to always be careful of white people as well, if anything, to be honest with you. But in short, as I was saying before, the main message of the video, this is just shows you what happens when you side with the people in positions of power. Okay, it only takes a small percentage of people in your community to do stupid shit, and now they're all coming against you. That's the truth of the matter. Okay, because for the longest time, and I'll be fair, like Indians were not as bad or as cold and as mean as like East Asians, like Chinese specifically, when it comes to anti-black racism, but there has been a history of anti-black racism in the Indian community, especially when you actually want to date them. I heard it could get really fucking ugly, okay? And that is the truth of the matter. But at the same time, now, look at how things are going now for them. It just took a small percentage, and people would say, if anything, well, you black people are criminals and this and that. Some goofy Indian people would say, in all honesty. But at the same time, guess what? It's the same thing for us too. A small percentage of black people are going around doing stupid shit, and the whole community gets criticized for it. If anything, it's only a small percentage of black people in America and Canada, that actually go around causing problems, and it just takes a small percentage of goofy people to do something for white people to start saying you guys are all like that. So that just goes to show you a lesson to learn from life about this particular of course thing, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so it just goes to show you in life, never in life seek validation from someone else. Even if they're in a position of power, never do that. Because it only takes a small percentage of something to happen, especially in the case of the people who run the world, white people, for them to start turning on you. And it should serve as a lesson to people, whether Indian, black, Hispanic, whatever, to not rely on the validation of white people, okay? And that is the truth of the matter. So anyway, this is my video. I hope you enjoyed it as well as found it informative. Just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumb this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And some people, I'm out. So bye.